Welcome back to Actually Useful, the show where we diagnose what's wrong with the internet and we chat with the good folks who are trying to fix it. Hi, guys.
How we doing?
Hey, how are you? Glad to be here.
Josh, do you have any news for us?
Oh, yeah. So, first of all, I don't know if you saw Macron at Davos wearing the insane blue aviators, but I guess that was just the beginning of his fuck around and find out with Trump, because France just announced that all their civil servants will be getting off of Teams and Zoom, citing data privacy concerns. And there's like 2.5 million of them. It feels weird to be an American and saying this, but like, hoping that maybe some cool, more ethical alternatives arise to these things, because there's certainly a lot of problems, as we discuss, with a lot of these platforms.
Yeah, in our coverage of Cory Doctorow's book, Enshittification, his most recent book, we talked about how, like, at the end, there wasn't a lot of silver linings, but Doctorow talked about how Trump could end up being really good for, like, anti-enshittification regulation, simply because he's so bad that, like, this would be the straw that broke the camel's back for other countries to finally be like, you know what, this U.S. digital monarchy, this like oligarchy of all of the US tech market is maybe not ideal for other countries. And so we're seeing a really big push towards digital sovereignty in Europe. This is the biggest push. Like Josh said, it's millions of French civil servants, but there have been other European, there's been other European locations, like cities and regions, that have already done big strides towards digital sovereignty. So a couple of them, the Austrian military and some Italian cities have adopted LibreOffice, which I believe is also the word processor Cory Doctorow uses. It's like a nonprofit that is an alternative to Microsoft Word or like Google Docs. The French city of Lyon is also replacing Microsoft Office. Denmark's government has been trying out open source software. A German state called Schleswig-Holstein has switched 44,000 employees away from Microsoft. And all of this was really pushed. I mean, obviously Trump gets crazier by the day, but like a big shifting point for this digital sovereignty push was last February when the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Netanyahu and other Israeli war criminals. Trump did his Trump thing, freaked out, had to protect Israel, whatever. He sanctioned the ICC's prosecutor, a UK citizen named Karim Khan. And Microsoft did what you are not supposed to do in a tyrannical government, which is obey in advance. And without essentially being asked to, they revoked this ICC prosecutor's address. His bank accounts got frozen. So there was all of this like American corporate push to just bend to Trump ahead of time and like cancel this man's connections to his technology. So I think that like justifiably freaked a lot of foreign nationals out.
As Tommy Vitor has been saying on Pod Save America, for all these oligarchs, like, what's the point of having fuck you money if you never say fuck you?
Dude, this is my thing. This is my thing in general, man. It's like, what is the point of this money? Like, I don't understand. Like, what are you supposed to be doing with it?
Bezos has more money than God. Like, he's getting rid of all the Washington Post, like, foreign correspondents and all this stuff. It's like, he could have paid them for years with the money that he spent on this Melania doc. That's just a thinly veiled bribe. We live in a great country, man.
This is,
I love it here.
We're watching it fall in real time, but there's many ways to resist. And today we have an amazing member of the resistance with us here. We have Jay Jones, known as the Profiler. Hello, Jay.
Hey, how are you? Nice to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so excited to chat with you. So Jay is known as the Profiler. He has removed over 51,000 fake jobs from LinkedIn. So Jay, can you tell us a little bit about like how did you start on this journey? You are basically the only person on the internet who is doing this. I tried to see if other people were doing it, and like not only are you like the expert at it and the expert in this space that is like not being investigated very much, but there really isn't anyone else who's even attempting to do what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about like how you got into this. You kind of stumbled into it by accident, and now it's kind of become a mission.
Yeah, I was laid off in December 2023. I had my dream job as a copywriter, and then one morning I get called into an impromptu Teams meeting, And, you know, it was nothing untoward. Like my former manager and I, we normally did this. It was just like, hey, send a quick message and we jump into a call, talk about copywriting and whatnot. And this time HR was there. I knew what it was immediately. Then 2 weeks later, my daughter was scheduled to be born by cesarean. So I'm thinking about all that. And, you know, when you're a job seeker, you're told the typical playbook is get your resume updated, go to LinkedIn, post the open to work post, and then you're off to the races in a positive way. Prior to being laid off, I heard how bad it was in the job market, but I tried to put that to the side and, you know, ignore that kind of stuff. And then when I put the banner up and I got all of this attention, I was like, okay, well, maybe that was just a bunch of noise. But what actually happened was there were fake resume writers and fake companies reaching out with fake jobs. And initially I would report and block them. But over time, I got angry because I'm in this situation where I'm dealing with all these things personally, trying to secure, you know, providing for my family. And at the same time, you have these vultures trying to actually steal the very money that I need. And I got angry. I tried to just ignore it at first. But then what happened was I started to think if they can't get me, they're getting millions of other people. And if I don't say something, then those people can be deceived. And so I couldn't tolerate that. Frankly, it pissed me off. And so that's how the work as the profiler was born.
So most people probably don't even know that this like underbelly of LinkedIn is happening. I think people see jobs that look suspicious. I kind of am in the startup scene, and a thing we talk about a lot is like startups a lot of times will post like themselves. They'll post a job that isn't real because it gets you these spikes in traffics before a board meeting. But I feel like I was talking to some of my networks like before we had this conversation. They had like that was the extent of what they think a fake job is. So can you give us an overview of like what are these types of scams? How do they run? Like what are we talking about when we say fake jobs?
There's fake jobs and then there's ghost jobs. And so when you're talking about the startup, they have the out because there's something I've been working on. It's a piece. I don't know if it'll be a blog post or a case, but I'm calling it the perfect out because there are so many reasons that are plausible that bad actors and even legitimate companies have to posting fake jobs versus ghost jobs. To differentiate, a fake job is entirely made by a fake company, entirely made by fake people that are typically foreign bad actors trying to siphon information and money from U.S. job seekers and U.S. companies. And a ghost job is when a US company is doing something underhanded to generate more traffic to the website, like you said, to make the investors feel like this is still a viable enterprise, that they should still invest in it, to secure more funding, to secure more, you know, tax benefits and things like that. So those are the main differences. But when you're dealing with a startup company like that, what they'll often do is they'll have you do assignments or they'll try to have you pay to be an intern, which you should never pay to be an intern. You get paid to either intern or you're doing it for free, but you never pay them any money. So that's that part of it. But the main thing that is a major problem is jobs aren't vetted. Anybody, any company can go to LinkedIn and add X amount of jobs. And then what's even worse is real verified companies, and I've seen this happen just in the past 4 days, where I've been working on it for 2 weeks, where a verified company or a real business that doesn't hire at all can have fake jobs added to it in the thousands. And when they look at their own personal dashboard of jobs on the page, they see nothing. So,
Whoa. Crazy.
Yeah, I think that's like similar. Like we had talked about this cyber hacking that's currently going on where scammers are posting links to like Nudify apps or like crypto scams on government websites through a back door. And we covered it as like, well, yeah, scammers would want to do that because it's hard to make your scam rise to the top of Google results. So you use a back door for a page that Google's already going to rank highly, like a government website. And I would imagine that this has like a similar tactic of like these scammers are trying to assign themselves to something that already has like authority in the algorithms or like name recognition or whatever. And so it's just a back door that's valuable already for them to leverage in a disgusting way.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I've seen all sorts of ways the scammers try to legitimize themselves. Like the end goal, what they do that gives them the greatest success is when they hijack a verified account or a premium paying account, or when they get to hijack a verified company's page and add fake jobs to it. Personally, I've gotten fake jobs in the thousands taken off of Levi Strauss & Co.'s page, LHH's page, KIPP Philadelphia Public Schools page. Just more recently, this volunteer organization out of Switzerland that's a scout company, basically like the Boy Scouts. At one point, when I first noticed the fake jobs, they had 182 of them. After part one of my case, the scammers added a ton more to try to hurry up and collect as much data as possible before the jobs were burned. Then when I went to LinkedIn, they came back to me and said that they can't remove these fake jobs that are obviously fake because they need to hear from a super admin. And it angered me because I'm like, wait a minute. And immediately in my mind, I got this mindset or the scenario of when you call 911 because you see your neighbor's house being broken into, but they ask you, well, are you the homeowner? And it's like, well, if you're not the homeowner, we can't send units. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's the level of ridiculousness. And I actually made a little short, funny video about it. But when that actually happened, I realized the level of unwillingness to actually address it substantively. I mean, I've seen this throughout the entire time as my work as the profiler has progressed. But that's the end game with infiltrating the checkmarked profiles and the checkmarked companies. And then going back to actually the things that I've seen them do, like, so they'll go as far as they'll create these fake profiles and then they'll use other fake profiles in tandem to go and follow that fake profile and connect to make it look more legitimate. I've seen them add fake reviews from these other fake profiles to make it look like they're legitimate. I've seen them hack other profiles and have them interact with each other. And they do this routine thing where they go around and congratulate people on their professional accomplishments to make it look like they're a legitimate contributor to the LinkedIn community. But that's just a move to throw people off and make them look more real.
Can you give us a sense of the scale of this? Of like what percentage of the website would you guess is composed of these fraudulent postings, profiles, scams?
It's rough to ballpark it to a percentage, but I mean, I found 51,172 of them, and this is in a 2-year time span, but there are a lot more fake jobs that get added because there's a lot of job scraping. So conservatively, I'd say around 200,000 plus fake jobs.
Wow. So I guess I'm looking at this. LinkedIn is a huge company. They're a tech company. They have lots of talented engineers and very smart people working for them. If they have, let's even say 100,000 fake jobs on the website, you think this would be something that they would be aware of. Do you think they benefit in any way from having these on the website? And do you think that maybe their hesitance to respond to that is because it helps them in some way?
Engagement. And actually, this is in part of what I was actually working on last evening. Like I referenced it to the medical industry. So like I asked a question because this is a post I'm about to put up on Substack. But when you're dealing in the medical industry, what's more profitable, a cured patient or one that's pain managing? It's obviously one that's a pain manager.
Sure. Because
you get to give more medication to them, more visits, more this, more that. So when you take it to the job market, what's more profitable? Somebody that has a job and is not on LinkedIn and is continuing to operate completely independent of the website? Or is it somebody that is constantly looking for jobs, constantly getting misinformation, constantly getting fed this, and this, doom scrolling and whatnot? What is more profitable? Obviously, it's the perpetual job seeker.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically like, so like I talk about this a lot, but as a product manager, I'm really good at what they call the flywheel, which is like how you get users to engage with apps is like, there's a prescribed methodology to be able to like get them to interact with something a certain way, get them to invest some information a certain way, and keep them in this flywheel. And like, this is absolutely something that LinkedIn clearly would benefit from because it's just more people finding more jobs that they can submit to. And it's more content. They don't really care if it's fake or not. Okay. So these scams, like a common scam, you see a job, you think it's real, you apply for it, you give up your personally identifying information, potentially your social security number. Sometimes they ask for payments. Like you said, sometimes people are paying to be an intern. And then what happens? Like, who are these scams targeting the most? Where does this go? This has very real consequences. So tell us a little bit about like, how far do these scams go?
I mean, the macro view and the most immediate and most, I would say, alarming thing is it's targeting U.S. job seekers, U.S. companies to undermine the economy itself and empower other nations that might not have the U.S.'s best interest at heart. But if you're drilling it down to who it targets the most, it targets the job seekers, it targets the talent acquisition and HR professionals, U.S. companies that are reputable, it targets educational institutions because there's no checks and balances, there are no guardrails for people to add whatever they want to their profile. All three of us, if we wanted to, we could add that we worked at Apple, T-Mobile, any other company that is of well-known reputation. We could say we did this, we did this, we did that. There's nothing to vet it. There's nothing to verify. We can say we went to any educational institution we want. And so what this does is the ease of adding information and adding employment history, which when somebody is doing it and they're honest, then sure, there shouldn't be any roadblocks to that. But when there are scammers, it empowers them to make these dream career profiles and empowers them to make things look legitimate when they're not. And to answer the second part about how it goes is it's far reaching. So there have been stories of people that take jobs that they relocate to another country for, and they end up into scamming compounds because this is something that isn't talked about enough, is where people are actually forced to scam, and it's under the threat of being beaten, under the threat of being, taken out. Their people and their loved ones being targeted. And so they're forced to be in these call centers in typically places like Cambodia and other countries where this is well known to happen. And then what I call the scammer pipeline is where you see this job that looks legitimate, and then you click either Easy Apply, which is a major tool for scammers to abuse, because when you use Easy Apply, you don't see where the application goes. You don't see anything. It's just you're trusting it to be an easy application. And the only time the easy application is safe is when there's a real recruiter attached to it that is verified, that doesn't have suspect activity on their profile, and is somebody that you can actually reach out to. And what happens is part one of the scammer pipeline is you apply, they get your resume, you never hear anything back, and they have the plausible deniability or the perfect out to say they went with another candidate. The second part is they come back to you and they say, hey, we got your application, but your resume, quote unquote, sucks. And they'll go as far as to send you this screenshot of the score your resume got. Typically, it's like 25 to 35, and they say it's supposed to be ranked out of 100. So when you see that, you think you're way off base and they can really help you. So then they say they know somebody on Fiverr or WhatsApp or whatever to actually write the resume for you and get it into a better position. You pay them the money, and then the scam can either stop there and they don't engage any further, or they take it even further and say, you qualify for this job now, so let's get you in, and then you get this offer. From there, they do the background check, which is fake, and that's how they get your social security number and your driver's license. Or what they do is they'll take it even further and they'll give you a start date, and then they'll send you out a check saying that you can actually buy equipment, and then you buy the equipment from their approved vendor, use your credit card, they scan that online to get that information. By the time you realize the check is bounced, they've ran up as many charges that they can on your card. And I just had a woman message me a screenshot of a check in I think it was December 28th or whatever, because she had accepted an offer, but she heard about me and asked me, hey, is this offer real? And I was like, no, do not deposit that check. And the check was for $3,450.
How did you figure all this out? This is such a deep web of conspiracies.
It's called follow every thread. So for me, when I initially looked at it, because this goes back to late December 2023, I'm like, why are all these resume writers attractive women? I get that they can work in any business, but it's like, why are they concentrated in this company, which was 10 Star Resume Limited? And at one point, they had over 3,000 fake profiles. And what they did was they stole pictures of attractive women from realty websites, foreign models, or even women on LinkedIn, and claimed that they worked at the company. And this is where follow every thread comes from, because one profile can lead to a fake company that has hundreds, if not thousands, of fake employees. It can lead to a website that is a spoofed one of a real website. It can lead to fake credit checks for as part of the application process, affiliate marketing abuse. This deep web, it can go everywhere, and that's why I follow every thread.
I told Ariel before we started recording, but I actually, luckily, I noticed what was going on, but I got targeted by one of these things when I was fresh out of undergrad, didn't have a job lined up. I was super desperate and looked totally legit. It was a low-level admin, classic out of college assistant level work. Like the person seems totally legit. We're talking, whatever. I apply. And then when I go to my quote unquote interview, it's a Zoom like presentation, like not a Zoom meeting. It's a Zoom presentation. And the woman is like clearly in front of a fake background. And she's like, oh my God, you guys, like we had so much interest. There's actually 2,300 of you on this call right now. And, you know, normally what I would do is sit down for coffee one-on-one with each of you, but that's a lot of caffeine for one girl. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, there's no way this is real. Like, there's just no chance. So I just got off the Zoom call. But like, you know, if they had tried 20% harder, like they might have convinced me into giving them some information. And it's scary that it's like, I don't know, like I think I try to pay attention to these things. I work on a podcast about enshittification, and it happened to me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it can happen to anybody. I mean, I have a friend who's an Emmy award-winning hairstylist. She doesn't know how to use Google Docs. Like, why would she know how to use Google Docs? She's at the top of her field, but she's not like technically proficient. She doesn't use these things for her daily life. And so, like, I was thinking about this. Like, when I've applied to jobs, I always go straight. Like, if I find it on LinkedIn, I will go to the company's website and apply through that way. Just because, like, in my head, like, that seems better. Like the little like product manager in me is like, this seems like a better way to do it, but I don't have, that's just like an instinct of using the internet and being kind of like what you're saying, Josh, of like, you just gotta have these spidey senses of like, I don't know, but most people don't have those, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was contacted confidentially by a president of a bank where he lost 3 million in crypto because he was scammed out of it in that fashion. And he sent me the paperwork, the documents and everything. And they target anybody. They target the job seekers, and the end road to that is not only just to get your data and to get your money, but I've seen them actually infiltrate companies and work as these people in these companies. Like one example was a woman had a job for 2 years at a company she never applied to. And how it worked was the scammers said they had some medical condition where they couldn't appear on camera. So the company didn't want to basically look like they were being like discriminatory. So they didn't push the issue. And somehow by happenstance, it was found out. And, you know, that employee was fired. And I think at the top of 2025 in February, there was this woman, I think she was in Idaho. She was running a laptop farm where she had like 17 plus jobs, but she was actually remotely letting, I think it was Korea or one of the foreign countries, actually do remote work with a U.S. company, but they were overseas. So yeah, it's a mess. But the other thing that I theorize, and I actually believe this is the reason why so many people, you've seen it countless times where they say, I'm perfectly qualified for this position. Why didn't I get it? And there are so many avenues to why that happens. People say, well, your resume didn't hit each bullet point, or you just weren't at this specific time of the application window and it got buried. And what I really believe the issue is AI and these mass applications are drowning these talent acquisition people so they can't filter through, which I get private messages from recruiters all the time about that. But the more sinister part of it is when a person puts their resume publicly, it can be scraped by anybody, good or bad. And then when we know that these scammers are applying to jobs as people, well, if you were exposed as not being the person that you applied as, and people see that resume again, but this time it's the real person applying, well, then no wonder you're not getting hired because you're already flagged.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. That's crazy. So like, this is a great transition because I want to talk about like what this means in the enshittified tech world that we're in like an absolutely crazy period of unemployment, particularly in sectors, especially in the tech sector, which has been doing well up until about 2022. And now we're seeing just, I mean, massive layoffs. And so like, I want to talk a little bit about how gross and all encompassing it is that we are essentially monetizing unemployment on behalf of the people who have the power to monetize unemployment. And there's like, so there's all these these fake jobs, there's these scam jobs. There's also like LinkedIn's whole ecosystem is engagement bait, hustle posting, authoritative sounding AI generated slop. I say oftentimes that as a PM, if I submit like a bug ticket or a feature request, that's like a sign of respect that I like went out of my way to be like, you should improve your product. With one exception, one time LinkedIn sent me like I got a pop-up that was like, I don't know, a net promoter survey or like some kind of like, how would you recommend LinkedIn or do you like it? And I crashed out on this. Like, I just wrote like 1,000-word essay of like, who the fuck is this platform for? Like, what is like, this is the worst shit on this platform. And like, we're like expected to have to use it. It is so frustrating. So like, what are your thoughts on just, you've been working in this, like, essentially you've been doing a really, really hard job with like very little recognition. I think that like you're the only person who's really carving out a niche on this. And it speaks to something that's really a lot more broadly sweeping than I think most people know. So like, how does that make you feel? And what's from your vantage point, like what are you seeing in this ecosystem of how we're treating unemployed folks right now?
It's angering. I've been angry for a long time. I was angry since I got that Teams call and I knew what it was. It was like, I was this committed to this organization, and then, I have a child on the way. My level of dedication. As you all know, my work as the profiler, the same level of dedication applied in copywriting. And so, angry. And then when I started to see the landscape, because I knew before I started that this would be a massive undertaking, but my answer was, am I okay not doing anything about this? No. Am I okay with the job market being this way? No. And so whatever follows the no is just part of the mission in the process. It's saddening. I really feel for people. It could be better, but it's not advantageous to those that are benefiting off of it. Like I said earlier in my example about the perpetual job seeker, the goal is to profit as much off of you until you're gone. That's just the bottom line. There are people that aren't cognizant of the feelings of others. They have no empathy. It's just about me, 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 me. And I never set out to be well known. I never set out to do this to be recognized, but a part of the process. And I have this uncomfortable relationship with metrics and visibility in and of themselves, because when you write, for me, like when I write something, I don't write it for the visibility. I write it to help people. I write it so that they can see that this is actually what's wrong. This is how you prevent yourself from being abused. And so a uncomfortable part of that process is, yes, I could do all this stuff, but if I had one view, nobody would see it. So I need the visibility. I need the acclaim and the views so that it can reach as many people as possible. But going back to your point about the enshittification, so to speak, and like the hustle culture and whatnot, the algorithms and things are driven by engagement and hot takes and things that are supposed to be controversial, but actually don't offer any substantive solutions. Like, I've seen people that have a fraction of my audience talk about scams and complain about them, and they'll get thousands plus likes and this and that. Me, I talk about, here are the people that are doing it. This is how they lay it out. This is why they're trying to do it. This is how you stop it. And it gets the numbers that it gets, but the impact is much more substantive and powerful for me. But that's the kind of stuff that you see. It's about engagement. It's about people complaining, but no solutions. And then we talked briefly about engagement pods. And do you know what an engagement pod is, like, entirely? Or?
No, tell us about it.
So there's nothing wrong with supporting people that are your friends, that you like to see their content. You like it. Like, you two, you see each other post something, you're going to like it, whether or not you read it or not. That's just because you're friends. But the difference with an engagement pod is it's a deceptive tactic where a group of people enter into a clandestine arrangement where money is exchanged. They pay foreign people to use bots to automatically follow their posts, like their posts, enter a bunch of AI generated comments constantly. And you'll notice if you see these kind of posts, it's a giveaway, because they're not talking about anything really. It's just these kind of things somebody was saying, a bubble. So that's the stuff where they sell people this idea that you can have my visibility, you can have my reach, you can have my impact and influence if you just buy my course. But they don't tell you that they paid for this reach and they paid for this influence. And so you get the course and you're like, well, why am I not, getting the same kind of traction? And they're like, well, hey, what can I tell you?
I mean, I think, Jay, you just need to hustle harder. Is
Yeah.
what it sounds like.
No sleep, bro. No sleep.
Wake up at 4 a.m.
God, it makes me crazy. Oh my God. I mean, I feel this way about a lot of social media right now. And like we've talked about how there's now a push, like the new like metaverse push is that like your whole social feed would be created automatically by AI for you, which is like that's not social media. That's anti-social media, right? And I feel like when I say like who the fuck is LinkedIn for? It's like the people who are writing like you're saying, it's like, okay, it's people who are using ChatGPT to post something disingenuous and like with no substance, and then it's bots who are liking it, and it's like, who is benefiting other than LinkedIn? But like we've not been able to advance our actual like economy, the jobs portion of our economy away from LinkedIn. It's such a good example of like this is the problem with enshittification. There's no agency. If you're unemployed, you already have such limited agency to make choices and to like find some dignity in the process, and then you're like forced to go on this absolutely awful platform that is rife with abuse and scams, and it's just like, how did we get here, you know?
Yeah. It's a mess. Like I say, I do this work to help people. I do it to shine a light on the things that need to be shut on, because if you don't know what's going on, then you're gonna get scammed. It's just that simple. Like, yes, there are people that are savvy, but I know cybersecurity people who have been scammed. I know law enforcement officers who have like gone down a certain pipeline and then they didn't know what was going on. I've had people in law enforcement ask me, like, is this profile legitimate? You know, the line between what's real and what's fake is continually getting blurred. And the better AI gets, the better scammers will get. I've seen their email messages improve. I've seen their overtures in their like offers improve. But the ultimate thing that helps me differentiate it is just an inner knowing, like just this, been given it by God, this ability to discern this kind of stuff so I can help other people. But when you're talking about who it's for, I mean, it's for people who have massive audiences. It's for people who are pushing things. It's for people who are in the ecosystem to share a bunch of things. And I don't want to say it's entirely bad, because I've met people like you, all the people that have supported me throughout this 2+ year process. So it's not entirely bad, but it's like, my thing is, if you say something is safe and trustworthy, then it needs to be safe and trustworthy. You can't sit up here and say, this is what it is, this is how great it is. But at the same time, I'm getting messages from thousands of people over this process of, I was scammed, I was burned, I was harassed, I was, led to believe this was what it was and it wasn't. I reported this and it went nowhere. I reported these jobs and they stayed up. And why is there no actual real effort to address it? So I'm just telling people the truth.
I honestly do have some amount of empathy for these recruiters and HR people who are legitimately trying to get through and find qualified candidates and are just being barraged by AI applications. And then I also, on the other side of that, like, your applications are now just being read by AI. So I guess my question is, like, something we try to talk about on the show is like, how would you design a better ecosystem here? Like, we're reaching the height of enshittification where it's just like, okay, I'm tired of getting 1,000 rejections, so I'm just going to use AI to write my cover letters. They're getting barraged by then tens of thousands of applications, so they have to use AI. And it's like, at what point can we just cut through that and maybe take a step back and rethink about, like, how would you build this system to actually help talent and, companies find each other?
Yeah, in Warfare, like, this is actually something I saw in Enemy of the State when Gene Hackman's character was talking to Will Smith's character, and he was saying, like, because the NSA was after Will Smith in the movie, and he was like, how do you actually fight a technologically advanced enemy? It's like, well, you go back to guerrilla warfare, you go back to being off the grid, so to speak. And so when you're doing AI versus AI and you're getting nowhere, then that should tell you that it needs to be more human again. Because yes, you can't completely do away with AI, but when you're solely relying on it, this is actually what we get. Now, there are recruiters that they say they go through physically every single resume, but when you have this many resumes, you have like to be very discriminate in what you're looking for. So pretty much they're looking for disqualifiers while they're looking for qualifiers. But what's more at the top of their mind is, okay, this isn't a fit, this isn't a fit, this isn't a fit. So yes, you have to actually be 100% or as close to it as possible. But what AI does is it takes the storytelling element out. It takes the humanity out. And so over time, people get savvy and they can tell when a resume or when a piece of content is AI written. It's not just the M dashes, it's not just the emojis, it's the lack of the soul that's in it when it's written. And so it has to be more human. It has to be taken through the lens of like, this is something that I offer to help talent acquisitions and HR professionals like vet candidates and, cut through the noise, so to speak. But it has to be more human. I know it sounds like cliche, but literally that's how you fix it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think like my brain, just to go full conspiracy here, bear with me on this analogy.
This is her
like
big
when
move.
Snap, this is my big thing, just full conspiracy. Like, okay, just drawing a parallel, like when Snap was cut off, I kept saying to people that when you live in a country that has legalized slavery when it is punishment for a crime, the way that you get more people into your slave economy is to lower access to food, because that is the pipeline to what we call crime and where we send people to work. And so, like, in thinking about how do you stop this, there's a lot of conversations that we're in, obviously, both in terms of like, I mean, all things coming together. I keep being like, every time I'm talking about the Trump administration, I'm like, it's the same thing with the AI. Like, I keep trying to like draw the red string to be like, this is the same shit. It's the same people. It's the same shit. But like, they are related. And I think there's something really, I think we need to notice that like, at a point in American history where like the people are desperate for power, a way that you can continue to keep people from doing big moves like getting off of LinkedIn or getting off of Amazon or doing these things that would actually claw back some agency for the people, like you can do that by making more unemployed people, because unemployed people they're too precarious to be able to do these types of boycotts. And so like when I look at it, I'm like, this is all in service of continuing to uphold this tech oligarchy that is currently running our country backwards towards fascism. And so like, I don't know necessarily what the solution is. I agree with you. I think it's that we have to make things more human, but it's so hard to ask like the people who are in the most precarious positions to try to do something different than just getting help. I mean, this is the point of like strike funds. This is the point of unions. Like this is a big problem that goes way beyond LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, I empathize and I feel the pain of the people, because I've said this before. It's like, where do you think this all goes? Where do you think this ends when you get these endless amounts of layoffs? And I've seen this throughout this entire process. It's like I'll see the people on LinkedIn say that hiring is coming, things are shifting, it's trending up. I've never seen these many people get hired in this amount of time. But then at the same time, Amazon Fresh is closing locations, UPS is shutting down. And the old saying with UPS was UPS is hiring, not anymore. But going back to my earlier point of where this ends, if you keep laying people off, if you keep denying them access to the core essentials, and meanwhile, they still have to provide for their family, their loved ones, they still have to survive themselves, it's going to increase crime, because sooner or later they're like, hey, I have to do something, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely see that pipeline. It's hard to be like, who's the head of the snake here, but it's definitely all related. And so like, just to end our conversation with something, what in this process is giving you hope? Like, you're obviously in a really dark corner of the internet, but like, what are some of the things that you're seeing happen, or like people you've talked to, like where are you getting a little bit of a silver lining, if there's one available?
The people that I help with the information so they can get to real opportunities faster, the support that I get from the people taking down these fake jobs, because if you extrapolate, just one fake job can get thousands of people's information into the hands of bad actors. And so for me, like I've taken down 51,172 of them. So let's say all of those had 1,000 applicants that shouldn't have ever applied, then that is an immense impact. So that's where I get hope from.
Yeah, I mean, you're really doing incredible work. I'm like, I really, really admire just the persistence that you've had to do this work that is like pretty thankless. And, you obviously have other things you could be doing with your time, but like, I appreciate and recognize that you've been like called to this mission. And I really appreciate you sharing all these details with us. Where can people find you? How can people learn more about your work, get your help? Support your work?
Yeah, website is theprofiler.org. On LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/n/Jones Do You Copy. As a copywriter, my website is jonesdoyoukopy.com. And I don't want to say it's thankless work because I've been thanked many times, supported. It's just in my situation is precarious right now because, on no income, and in the meantime of applying to different jobs and trying to make things happen, behind the scenes with more sustainability for the work as the profiler. Just need the help of the people and the continued support to keep it going. And so that's huge. Like I said before, I'm grateful for it, and this work matters because if people are deceived and scammed, then not only does it hamper and destroy their lives, but it ultimately, in the big picture, destroys the economy too.
Totally. We talk a lot about depressing things on this podcast, but I mean, my favorite part of it is just meeting with guests who give a shit and are doing something about it. So we really appreciate everything you're doing, Jay.
We appreciate it. Should we go Falcon mode?
I think we should go Falcon mode.
So, Jay, we have a surprise for you. At the beginning of Falcon mode, we always ask our guests to make a falcon sound. Could you make a falcon sound for us?
Let's go. Strong.
That was
Strong.
good.
Okay, so Falcon Mode is our listener submitted segment where we usually take a listener submitted idea or a problem and we figure out if there's a tech product that could solve it and how we can make the idea more useful, feasible, and fundable. But today, I think Ariel has a little twist for us.
Okay, this is a crazy story, and I feel like anybody who's like hung out with me for years will recognize this idea. So like I am a person, I'm full of whimsy. I go around my life being like, I've got the ideas journal, and I pitch things like, what if you could swim in an aquarium, and like other dumb shit that's just fun to do. But like an app that I have been like quote unquote pitching since like 2011 is, if I were going to make an app just for fun, it would be an app called Pitter, Pittr, in the style of like 2014 tech naming conventions. And it's a neighborhood cat app where like you as a cat owner can make a profile for your cat, and then your like neighbor friends download the app, and as you go around your neighborhood, you can like pet the cat, and so like each cat has a profile that's like, I like head rubs but not belly rubs, and then you can like say like, I saw this kitty today, and like maybe it has owner information or whatever. Just a fun way to collect cats. And then I ran into like, is it safe? Like, people probably shouldn't be letting their cats outside. It depends on where you are. I don't know. I just, obviously, like, where does this go? What's the point of this? I don't know. It's just some whimsy. Guys, somebody made this app. Somebody made it.
Crazy.
It was released in December. Okay. It's not called Pitter, which makes sense because that's a very outdated name. It's called NeighborCats. It has like 10 downloads. I have so many questions. I found this guy's email. It's made by this guy named Gregor. He lives in British Columbia. I'm going to email him and be like, what's up, dude? Want to talk about your app? You can vote on cats. It does have the tag. So like this one says curious, pettable. Sometimes they'll like timid, independent, whatever. But you can give it one of two votes. There's no bad. You can only be best cat or great cat. And the cats collect their votes, and then you can see the local leaderboard of which cat is most popular right now.
At the top of the category, right?
This guy.
Stop, Jay.
This guy's a copywriter.
That was amazing. Okay, yeah. So like the only problem that I have is it's only Vancouver cats right now, and I don't know them personally, so I need to get my neighbors. But I like the cynical part of my brain that had been chewing on this forever and was like, what's the point of this? I like see that this guy made this app, and I was like, could this be a scam? Like, is there any way that someone can, and I can't see it. I think it's just a cat app, but I'm going to email Gregor and be like, what's up, dude? Let's talk about this app. So you might be getting a future episode of NeighborCats. But I was so excited that somebody built that app. See, everyone, there's an idea out there that you should make, okay? Even if it's just a silly little cat app, all right?
It feels delightfully like early internet.
Yes.
Where people were just like making
internet
stuff for fun and like as little hobby projects, and not every company was trying to take over the world.
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's why it's like so appealing, you know?
Yeah.
Well, to our listeners, if you have ideas for future actually useful Falcon Mode segments, make sure to send them to heyactuallyuseful@gmail.com. We're on Instagram and TikTok on Actually Useful Pod. And drop us a line, say hello, and we hope everyone has a great couple of weeks.
And bye. Actually Useful is part of the Industry Plant Podcast Network. It's co-hosted and created by Ariel Butters and co-hosted, produced, and edited by Josh Stretton Carlson. If you like the show, please consider subscribing to our Substack or YouTube, or give us a follow on most social media platforms at Actually Useful Pod.